Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. I'm flabbergasted. My very evangelical Christian conservative mom and I have had some not so great times in the past. Our relationship throughout my adult life has been rocky at best. My dad, for reference, simply just doesn't talk to me. His loss, he's a major asshole. My mom, however, has made an effort in the last year or so to reach out and try to establish a good relationship with me, even sharing personal stories or intimate feelings, to which I always try to respond to with kindness and compassion. My mom is, unfortunately, also extremely hypocritical. She's one of those people that tries to give advice, and constantly believes she's always right, but sometimes she gives good advice that is not completely relevant or helpful to the situation. Sometimes her advice is so out of touch, I have to laugh. She also claims she was a virgin when she married my dad, while in the same breath retelling their story of how they met by saying they stayed out until 5 a.m. on a weeknight and fooled around in his car. In her mind, everything sans penetration is not sex. Because she's my mom, and because she works in health/fitness, she has been a bit more reasonable about health-related issues, like getting the COVID vaccine. She works with the elderly, or allowing me to go on when I was a teen. My periods were heavy and miserable, and she had the same problem when she was young. FYI, my dad refuses the vaccine. Today, I had a follow-up appointment at my GYN. I had a miscarriage. I never told her, but I just said I had gotten back from a doctor's appointment and I was only answering very generally, but she eventually hears I was at the OB/GYN and goes, "Oh, so you probably have an STD," which pushed me over the edge, and I said, "No, asshole, I had a miscarriage." I could have kicked myself. I was so mad I let that come out. I knew better than to trust her with something that personal. For context, I am 34 years old. I immediately regretted it. I never intended on telling her. She responded by getting angry with me for having premarital sex, and told me that she was furious. They would have to take care of it with me if I got pregnant. No, not exactly, there was a man in a long-term relationship involved and I'm on my own. She never asked me if I was okay, if I was feeling bad, nothing. She told me she didn't care, then hung up on me. After all the shit she's put me through, that's too much to get into here. Many of my friends have told me that I should have cut her off a long time ago, but she's my mom and I have tried to be the bigger person and have some semblance of a relationship with her. But I can't get past this, and I can't forgive her for this one. I'm livid. Who TF does she think she is, telling her 34Y/0 daughter not to have premarital sex? But more importantly, what the actual fuck? She's kind of the type of person who does good things so people can praise her for being such a good person and Christian. She's a knife intended to stab you, Christmas wrapped in Bible pages. I sent her a text basically saying that I was a fool to trust her, I regretted it immensely, and that I seriously need to re-evaluate whether having a relationship with her is worth it, considering I've been trying for years and she's exhausted all her chances at this point, and whether it's worth continuing to try at the expense of my well-being. So I have plans to cut her off and go full NCBC. I don't have any other options left. My question is, let's say by some miracle she apologizes and realizes she was wrong not to care, though she'd never change her premarital sex stance. Should I even talk to her, or just call it and be done? I'm at the end of my rope and I'm fully prepared to be done. The more I try, the more I'm convinced I'm being led to moving away from my familial relationships because they've done nothing but cause me drama and anxiety. But I'm also mad at myself for allowing it to go on this long. I just keep waffling. I try to be understanding and to not regret going NC whenever she inevitably passes or gets sick, etc. What would you do? Tia. Story 2. My mom throws a fit over not being invited to a wedding and Ida for thinking she overreacted. Context: a cousin of mine on my mother's side is getting married. Due to a limited budget and seats, my household was not invited, but we aren't the only ones who didn't receive an invitation. I completely understand though, and part of me didn't want to go in the first place. Redid the formatting because people were getting confused and I wrote this when I was tired. Mom received a call from her sister about my cousin's wedding. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I think her sister asked if we got our invitation yet. Mom said that we did not, and her sister said that she got hers. Unfortunately, Mom threw a fit and complained to her cousin through her great-uncle. She thought that the cousin's family was being ableist. I have too many disorders for me to list, and nearly lost control over her emotions. Keep in mind that another household in the family did not receive an invitation either. I understand that seats and money are limited, but I think Mom was taking this too personally. After things cooled down, I talked to Dad about this and said that I have been stressing over what I was going to wear to the wedding ever since it was announced. I was thinking about chickening out and making up some excuse not to go, like a cold. Dad, being a fellow introvert, said that he didn't want to go either. We now have plans to go somewhere fun on the day of the wedding instead of the wedding. Ida for thinking my mom overreacted a little? Story 3. Dad did not like being shut down and not listened to. So during the recent bushfires, Australia, we may have lost a rental property. It's unclear as the area is still dangerous, the fires are still out of control and frankly we just do not care as we are insured and we are due to have our first baby in a week. So my dad, the main abuser in my life, rang my husband. He didn't answer, so Dad rang me. My husband and I are no contact with Dad and low contact with my mother. My dad gets around this by using my mum's mobile to call us. So he wanted to talk to my husband. I said no, he's busy. What do you want? He started talking about the property and if we knew anything yet. I said no. He then tried to explain to me about how to deal with insurance. I just bluntly shut him down with right now we do not care and it's the least of our problems. Plus his information was wrong. I could hear it in his voice that he was getting frustrated as he wasn't getting the answers he wanted and he wasn't being listened to. I said, is that it? He then wanted to start talking what we should do with the property. He has never seen this property. I just said I am busy, bye. Dad does bit know how to hang up the mobile, so I could hear him yelling that I wasn't listening and wouldn't let him explain and fuck us if we don't want to take his advice. My dad think he's important and that his advice is important and should be listened to even if it's wrong. He did not like being shut down at every point. Story 4. My dad is being in sly asshole. I am 19 now, but 2 years ago my parents had a messy divorce. This really affected me and my grades in school. But in the court my dad was banned from the house and forced to pay $150 a week for his 3 kids. He moved in with his dad free of charge and makes good money. Meanwhile my mom only works part-time minding well 2 kids. I'm old enough for myself. But fast forward to tonight, my dad knew I was looking for a job. I recently visited America solo to see family, and when I came back I have been updating my CV and trying to find a job not only to help me but our house because he stopped paying halves. Bear in mind he still owns half the house, for heat and electricity without telling my mom, and went unpaid for 2 months. But everywhere I apply to keeps rejecting me cause I am suffering from dyspraxia, which is bad motor and everyday skills. He texted my mom tonight after literally only seeing me, and said I am not paying ops $50 a week because he is not going to college, which I am not continuing another year. This is broke down into 2 one-year courses and not are optional because I am not interested in learning about the business side of tourism, which was the next course, or because I didn't have a job, which I get, but he knows how hard I am looking and that I keeping not getting the jobs. I even got rejected by a toy store FFS. This has put my mom in even more financial distress, and on top of that he has gone on 3 holidays this year while my mom can barely afford to keep the house. And whenever she asks for him to mind his 3 kids he is always busy. He even lies to all his friends in the pub saying he wasn't there on this night cause I was minding the 3 boys cause their mother was too drunk. She was at home all day BTW. Now all of her former friends shut out this child neglecting alcoholic who is always at the pub and doesn't even cook for her kids BTW. My mom is an amazing cook and always makes the most delicious of dinners. I hope this makes sense as is worded properly, sorry if not. Story 5. Mill disregarding me. Not sure if this is where to put this, but I feel like this was an entitled parent moment maybe? Guess I'm looking for advice because I really don't like confrontation and I'm quite a sensitive person offline. Basically, I've always been really close to my Mill and she's more like a mum to me. We are very similar in a lot of ways, especially in sensitivity and care for others, but recently she's said some hurtful things and completely disregarded my wishes. First upset, me and her son got married a few weeks ago. I read my vows out to her a few weeks before to see if they were okay and she loved them. Fast forward to the day, it appeared like everyone loved them, including the little jokes I put in, and a few people said that to me. The following day I was saying I was relieved people liked them and found the jokes funny, but she said people weren't laughing, they were groaning at me for putting them in. I asked why she would say that because that will get into my head and ruin that moment for me, but she didn't say anything and carried on playing with my son. She knows my mental health isn't always the best and that would be something that I would latch onto, especially since I've only just started being able to trust people again. Second, biggest, upset, because we live so far away from each other. I've only met her colleagues once or twice, but they've always been really kind to me and spoiled us when big celebrations have happened. On top of this, they've looked after and cared for my Mill in such a way that they have been more like family and best friends to her, especially in the difficult times in her life. I realized I hadn't thanked them properly for the gifts and things when my baby daughter was born at the beginning of the year, as well as my son a few years ago, but I also wanted to thank them generally, mostly for her. I didn't have a traditional cake at my wedding and instead did a traditional dessert/cake from where I live/ from that are small and individual. As we only invited really close family and friends to the wedding, her colleagues weren't invited, but I still wanted to acknowledge and thank them, so I bought separate ones specifically for my Mill to give to them when she went back to work. I'd told her this prior and she didn't look happy about it, but didn't say anything other than one of the reasons I'll say in a section. When we came back from our mini honeymoon, we had a catch up over the phone and she told me that she'd been thinking about it and took the decision to instead give all the little cakes to one of her colleges/friend in particular, and told this person I bought them specifically for her. Her reasons being that no one was really in that week, only one other person had gifted my news baby. When we move closer, this person and her family would more likely be our friends and be close to them, and this person was having a really hard time so needed something to cheer her up. I was shocked and upset, so didn't know what to say, but then tried to come round her way of thinking, however I can't seem to. Don't get me wrong, I am glad in some way I could be part of doing something for her friend, especially as she's done a lot for me. But for me, Mill took something I went out of my way to do, disregarded my wishes, lied to her friend, put me in an awkward position and took a gift away from her other colleagues. There's a couple more things, but these two are the ones I'm most upset about. I don't feel like I'm wrong for being hurt and upset with her and feel she massively overstepped. I tried to talk to my husband about it, but he doesn't see the big deal for me. But I think he forgets I've experienced a lot of hurt and disregard from people and just how much it's taken me to work hard to trust people and go back to how I used to be with people. I really love her a lot, and as I said, I really hate confrontation. I don't know how to address it without an argument or saying something in the wrong way. Please no hate, just want advice on how to address this appropriately without causing upset. Tia. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.